All right, welcome everyone. Hello all. Great to see everyone logging in. Amazing. We'd love you to have your videos on if possible. We love being able to see people's faces. Also, you're all good if you just are on no video today. That's also fine. Honestly, we're so excited to be here. We're going to have some fun today. We've got an amazing webinar planned as well. So just as we gather, and we've got some more people joining us too, I would love you to share in the chat. Would love everyone here to share in the chat where they are in the world and what they do creatively, right? Where are you and what do you do creatively? We tend to mostly work with people in the States and the US. We're a US business, and Jillian's in the US as well. I'm not actually in the US right now. I will be back in the East Coast time in like a week and a half. But right now, I'm actually in New Zealand, where I'm originally from. Those of you that do already know that. So those of you that don't, you're catching the accent already. It is from New Zealand. So yeah, it's kind of weird. Jillian and I were just having a laugh about this, in that it's actually Friday for me, which is very strange. It's Friday morning for me. So I'm like ahead of the day. So anyway, it's a little bit odd, always when I pop over to New Zealand for a few weeks. So I love it. Awesome. So those of you that have just joined us, pop in the chat where you are and what you do creatively. Jillian, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Connecticut.
Amazing. I love it. I knew the answer, but now everyone does too. So there we go. I love it.
Yeah.
So we've got people joining in here. I love it. So nice variety in terms of amazing Arkansas, amazing Sarah, great graphic designer. I love it. Amazing. Hey, Bruno, muralist and living in New Orleans. Awesome. Kyrene, nice. Illustrator and fine artist, live in San Luis area. Great. I love that. Fantastic. And as others join as well, just pop into the chat where you are and what you do creatively. It's always great to understand who's here as well. We've also got both Celeste and Paul from my team here as well, which is fantastic too. So lovely to have a great group of people. And I can see there's even a couple of clients here as well, which is fantastic. All right, so we've got some good stuff planned. So I'm going to hand over to Jillian to get us underway. Over to you.
All right, sounds good. Hello, everybody. I'm Jillian, if you don't know that, Jag Inc. on the internet. I am an illustrator and a muralist based in Connecticut, and I've been running my own creative business for about 4 years now, full time. And super excited to bring Logan in here today. He is my business coach. Logan has had his own creative business for 11 years. That might be 12 years now. I don't know. He'll have to tell us. And since has worked with hundreds of graphic designers, muralists, illustrators of all kinds of visual creatives to help them grow their own businesses and leave their day jobs and build businesses of their dreams. In the time that I have been working with Logan, I've started to really take my business seriously. I have been able to pivot into the editorial and book publishing world, which is the topic that we'll be talking about today. And I've grown in my own confidence as a business owner, and I've landed commissions that I've been dreaming of for years. So all that to say, welcome Logan, and I'm gonna let him take it from here.
Amazing. I love it. So good to be here and connect with some new people, and there's some names I recognize as well, which is fantastic too. So great to be here, Jillian. Absolutely appreciate being able to run another webinar together. I think we've done a couple of these now, which has been fantastic. So we're here with another topic, which is awesome. And what we're going to be doing is really diving into these key things I'm going to take you through. Jillian's going to be sharing some things along the way as well, which will be fantastic. We will have time for Q&A at the end. We do have a couple of questions that were sent in before, but please feel free to hold on to those questions till near the end, and you can post them in the chat, and we'll answer what we can around helping with what's happening in your creative business and getting a question answered. We we were thinking, what could we do? And we're kind of umming and ahhing about the different topics here, but we really thought this one around pivoting to new offerings is such a powerful one. And this is good actually for people that are starting out in business, trying to figure out your offerings in the first place, like your products, your services, or if you've been in business for quite a while and you're trying to diversify, we can also, use that for this as well. So just to add a couple of quick things to what Jillian mentioned in terms of me. Yes, I had my own creative business for 11 years. I'm not involved in that creative business anymore. I did basically exit that a number of years ago myself. So I'm not tagging on more years, but sometimes we're like, oh, what is 11 years is like a really long time. I always think that. I'm like, where was that time in my life? I'm like, it's kind of funny. So I did start my first business when I was relatively young. But yeah, had my own creative business. It was in the live event space in New Zealand, and ran that for quite a number of years, and then got involved in coaching during that time as well, teaching, working with university programs, when I got my own business masters as well. And then these days, yeah, we work with visual creatives, as Jillian mentioned, and we tend to work with people in kind of like 3 different groups. Group 1 are like, hey, I have a day job. I'm doing a bit of stuff on the side. I would love to go full time. Group 2 are kind of a bit more like where Jillian was at. Is like, hey, like I'm running this business. I've been doing it sometimes, a year, sometimes a few years, but I want to make it more sustainable. I want to increase my revenue. I want to really do the things that I love and, build a really incredible business that I'm really proud of as well. And then the third group are basically people that are like, hey, I've been doing this forever. Sometimes they've been doing this like 10, 20 years, and they also would love to maybe diversify and maybe get more balance in their business and sometimes increase revenue as well. So all of those things are very, very important. Now, that's a bit about me. We're going to dive into things, but just before we do, I do want to mention that we're doing a giveaway. Some of you might have seen this on emails or on Instagram. We are going to be giving away 3 one-on-one coaching calls with me. And we're also going to be giving away a whole bunch of extra calls with Paul from the team. Paul is here on the call today as well, which is great. And I've also got Celeste here on the team who will be supporting as well. So what I will do is just post in the chat that survey there. If you're interested in getting on a freebie call, fill that in. It's a great way for you, even if you don't end up getting on a call, to learn a bit more about your business, where it's at, and we'll share some tips and ideas to everyone that does that as well. And a really, important thing is this is just a great way to dig into your business a bit more. There's some great questions in there, which is fantastic. We made Jillian do it as well, which was fantastic too. We actually, find it's a great way to really get people to dig out and flesh out where they're at within their business as well. And then we'll go through that and basically select some people to get on calls with me, and also a bunch of people to get on calls with Paul as well. So if that's something that's interesting for you, pop that link open. Make sure we share it in the email and things afterwards as well. All right, we have some fun stuff planned. So let's dive in. As I said, if you're newer to business or you've been in business for longer, working out your offerings, and when I say offerings, I'm really talking about your products, your services, how you utilize your creative skills. That's what I'm talking about. It's really essential to understand and have really clear, specific types of offerings. Now, you're all creative people. One of the things that creative people can do is, well, they can do almost anything, right? It's kind of like, hey, I'm a creative person. I can probably figure it out. So sometimes what we see is that people are like, hey, I can do anything, and just let me know what you need. And, that kind of makes sense in a way. However, what it does is it means that people that look at your website or your Instagram, they don't really understand what you do. They're like, oh, creative person, but are they involved in book illustration? Right? And they're not going to contact you and be like, can you do book illustration? They're actually going to go through all of your stuff. So if it's not clear that you are offering these things, often people won't contact you. You also won't know who to contact yourself and who to outreach to and who to really connect with, who to try and connect with in terms of your audience. Because you're like, well, I can work with anyone doing anything. And you're going to get really overwhelmed because you're like, I don't know who to connect with. I don't know who to try and market to, and those things there. So it is really, really important. Now, one of the things I'm going to mention around this, and it's going to be kind of a big topic for the call, is that this stuff is basically about the design of your business, right? A lot of people here are illustrators, designers. We mainly work with illustrators and designers. Now, the design of the business itself is really important. And one of those pieces of the design is what you do creatively. Now, what we see sometimes is that people have all this passion, this energy, this creativity, and they're putting into ideas, offerings, services, products that effectively are not going to get them towards their goals, right? And they have these amazing goals. They're like, I want to grow a long-term sustainable business. Some people want to leave day jobs, whatever that goal is. And then the set of offerings, the things that they're doing are not the things that are going to get them there, but they don't know that, right? And this is a really important thing, is that we want to make sure the types of things that you are offering, yes, you're excited about, you're passionate about, you're interested in, you have a skill set in, but also there's a need and demand in the world, and you can build a sustainable business from this. So we're going to dive into this a lot more as well. We're going to talk a bit about marketing along the way too. So what we're going to talk about first is what we call patience in the process, right? Now, understanding that the stuff is a process, whether you're trying to figure out your offerings or diversify what you're offering, there is a process here, and it does actually take time. I have a funny saying, which is that, impatience is a virtue too, right? Is like, hey, like impatience, means we keep moving forward and we want to get things happening, but also we need to have that balance with the patience as a virtue as well. So, one of the things I think sometimes people look for when they do, pivot into something new or, try and really figure out their first offerings is that they want it to be simple and they want it to be easy, which kind of makes sense. You should start focusing on something and it's going to like take off and there's going to be interest. Unfortunately, that's just not the reality of it. It will take focus and it will take time. And one of the big things we see it'll take experimentation as well. Right, this is an important part of it too, especially with Jillian. As Jillian was leaning into more of the publishing area, like this is something that she had to experiment with. Right, she had to try different strategies, different approaches, and is still trying different strategies and approaches as well. There's also going to be some failures along the way, right? So as you start to figure out what your offerings are or what you're refocusing into, you're going to get some stuff wrong. You're going to break some things along the way, and that's actually okay. You're going to learn. One of the biggest things that we see is that when people try and start something new, a new type of offering, what happens is they expect it to work, and if it doesn't work, they just stop and they do something else. But they took like a month of focus on that, and then like, oh, it didn't really work. No one seems to be interested in it. I don't know. I'm not actually sure if I'm that excited about it either because it's kind of frustrating me at the moment. So I'm going to try something else. And then they do that for another month, and I'm going to try something else, and I'm going to try something else. This is kind of the definition of shiny object syndrome. We've all heard of it, right? The new thing, the new exciting thing. So it's really important that we notice that within ourselves and go like, okay, like I do need to focus on things. Now, obviously, how long that is will depend on so many factors, but it's really important that when you decide on, hey, I'm going to try this new offering, I'm going to get into this new area of services or products, actually, you do need to focus that time and energy for probably a while. And that could be a number of months. It could be 6 months. You're going to learn a lot along the way. You're going to fail a lot along the way, but you're going to be trying something new. It's just so easy as a creative to not be patient and to be like, oh, it didn't work. I tried that. What's next? Oh, it didn't work. I tried that. What's next? And actually what ends up happening is you kind of feel quite overwhelmed because you've got all these different ideas. So this is a really, really important thing. We're going to dig into some of these areas a bit more, but we'd love to hear your thoughts around this one, Jillian, in terms of, patience in the process as well.
Yeah, I feel like I know a thing or two about patience. And like you're saying, it takes a really long time. Like when I was first talking to you, Logan, about coaching over a year ago, like a year and a half ago, probably, I had mentioned that I wanted to work on book covers, and it took that whole time until like maybe 2 months ago for me to like see an actual book cover that I illustrated in a store. So that's like, yeah, it took a long time. It took over a year probably of planning, of thinking about how I could do this, of sending the emails, and then of like finally getting the project and working on it and seeing it come to fruition. So yeah, you definitely have to be patient in the process, and it's not about like going viral. It's about like slow inching your way toward your goal. So yeah.
I love that. And I love what you said there around like, it's not about just going viral. It's about like doing the work, right? Like, there's luck is when preparation and opportunity intersect, right? And I think some people are like building a business based on luck. They're like, oh, well, hopefully it'll just work out. It's like, well, we've got to remember what is luck. Luck is actually the preparation and the opportunity, right? So for Jillian, like there's an opportunity there, absolutely, but it actually took some time to prepare. And Jillian was already running the business and doing other offerings and things there too. So she didn't have lots of time to devote to a new thing, but she kept at it. And this is really important as well, is that preparation side. So you can take on the opportunity, which is the luck that people talk about. Oh, this person's so lucky. It's like, well, no, they were steadily working on this. They weren't just going and buying a lottery ticket. Really, really important. I love that. So we're going to now talk a little bit about the marketing side of how to market yourself. And when we talk about how to market yourself, we're talking about marketing specific offerings. So what we actually might do first is we're going to actually talk about the offerings. So we're just going to do things slightly out of order. What people often ask at this point is like, okay, this is great, Logan, but like, what can I do? So for those of you that are like still trying to figure out your offerings, we're actually going to talk about what are good options for you, right? Whether that's early stage, trying to figure it out, or you are further along. In terms of those good options, one of the big things that we get to see as coaches and within my team and the work that we do is what works and what doesn't work. Right? Like this is one of the beautiful things we get to see. And it's not just from people we work with, it's actually also from people we have conversations with, people that we're speaking to as well. We start to see these trends. We've been doing this for a very long time now. And one of the biggest trends I'm going to share with everyone here is that we see that your design, your types of offerings, the way your business is designed needs to match your goals. Right? Kind of makes sense. So the big thing here is that if your goal, which most people we talk to, their goal is, if your goal is like, I want to leave my day job, I want to build a sustainable business, I want to do this full time. That's most people we work with, and most people we talk to have that dream, have that deeper desire. We need to make sure the types of things you're offering are matching that goal. One of the big things that we see is that you need to have a core focus on things that are over $300. Right, this is really, really important. And I'm going to talk about this a bit more, but what I mean by core focus is like the core things that you're doing in your business, you're offering are products or services that you sell for over $300. And I'm going to give some examples as well and sort of give some context for this. It tends to be that they're more service based, right? So the types of clients we work with, illustrators and muralists, graphic designers primarily. It tends to be more service based offerings, right? They tend to be working more with businesses than individuals. Not always. There's always exceptions to these things as well. There is actually a lot of different options for visual creatives, depending obviously on your skill set, but a few things that we commonly see people using their creative skills for that are over these $300 is things like editorial design, packaging design, branding for some people, murals, spot illustrations, book covers. Now, I've just mentioned very quickly a range of different things that we see. Of course, there's lots of other things as well. Why is this? I think this is really important to address because it's like I have a lot of conversations with people around like this idea. And first of all, it's like $300 minimum. Ideally, we want it to be more. I'm not saying you should sell stuff for $300. I'm saying no, that's a minimum. $500, $1,000, $2,000, sometimes even $5,000. Fantastic. Several things. One of them is that things that are under $300 tend to be really, really, really competitive. Right? That's just the reality of it. They're easier to get into, they're easier to offer. There's a lot of other people offering them. Right? So we talk about print on demand, incredibly competitive. Right? Insanely competitive. A lot of people trying to do it. Etsy stores, incredible amount of people trying to do it. Digital products, the same. Now, am I saying don't do these things? No, this is a really important point here is Jillian does some of these things as well, and we have clients that do all sorts of things that are under $300. I'm talking about the core of their focus and the things that are really moving them towards their main goals. This is the really important piece of it. So we've really seen that you need to have a core focus. It could be like 70, 80% of your energy could be on things that are over $300. Right now, you could spend 20% of your energy, 30% of your energy on things that are under $300. Right, we have clients with awesome Etsy stores and sell stickers, and we have people that licensing is kind of a funny one, and then it kind of fits in between the two. But that's something that can be a part of that equation as well. We kind of generally treat that as like a good thing to be 30% focused on if you're excited about that, right? And Jillian knows a bit about the challenges around licensing takes time. That's part of it as well. So this is something that we talk about a lot. We want to make sure that your design of your business fits your goals, right? And that's why we talk about the $300 plus offerings in terms of really good things to consider focusing on, right? So Jillian's talked to us about book covers, right? Book covers was an area that Jillian wanted to get into, but absolutely, you can charge a lot more than $300, significantly more than $300 for that. And that also means it's going to help you to get to your goals because it's also a numbers game. Right, when I talk about it being a numbers game, what I'm saying is that like, hey, if you're trying to earn 5 to 10K and beyond per month, well, it's going to be a lot easier to work with a smaller number of clients rather than sell a lot of things for $50 each. You're going to have to sell like a huge number every single month. You could actually end up working with 2 clients and then you could get paid $3,000 per client and suddenly there's 6K in a month. Right, so just a very different equation there as well. And once again, I'm just sharing this stuff based on what we see. Right, I'm not saying things should be this way. I'm saying things are this way, and this is something that I think for some people is kind of surprising because we definitely speak to people who are like, oh, I've been trying for years to make my business work, and I must be doing something wrong. And I'm like, you don't have anything that's over $300 really that you're focusing on, and that's kind of the thing that's getting in their way. They're like, oh, I've tried this, I've tried print on demand, I've got an Etsy store, I've tried these things here, and I'm like, yeah, look, I think if you doubled your efforts, with those offerings, you still wouldn't get there. You still wouldn't get to your goals. Therefore, we really need to focus on these new things. So there's a lot, obviously, in this. Would love to hear some of your thoughts around this one as well, Jillian, around that, kind of those offering side.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I think that one of my biggest goals when I started working with this coaching program was to take on less work for more money. And I think that's probably um what we're all thinking because, back in the day I would do like 10 projects a month for like, a couple hundred bucks here and there, but that's just not sustainable. So like the biggest thing for me is that I wanted to run a sustainable business. So taking on like 4 projects a month type of thing that will hit my uh, goal, my financial goal for the month is like much more sustainable, something that you can like really focus on and you're not pulled in all these different directions has been super helpful. Um, yeah, and in terms of like the $300 um, minimum, for me, like I would say packaging things together is really helpful. So like sometimes I will do editorial illustrations and, one would be $200, but if you package them together and you can like kind of upsell yourself, then you're getting way more for that project. So yeah, those are just like a couple of little things that I've started to do along the way that have been really helpful in terms of that.
I love it. So, so powerful. And I think, part of this here is everyone gets to hear what Jillian's thoughts are, right? And around these things. And like Jillian is deep in the trenches of running her business and has been through these things and understands and gets this stuff. And also has got things wrong along the way, right? That's part of it too, that learning process to get here, which is really, really important. I think, we talk, and Jillian, you'll remember we have a section of one of the programs we talk about the overnight success. I call it the overnight success iceberg, which is basically this idea that, sometimes people come out of nowhere. They seem like they're this overnight success. It's like, no, they've put time and energy into the design of their business. They put time and energy into the marketing side. And they've also put time and energy into that self-growth side as well, right? The learning, the confidence, the mindset side as well. Really, really important. All right, let's talk about marketing. So obviously, like marketing is a whole topic in itself, as we all know, and we could run a whole webinar, actually a whole program, whole course on marketing. It's a huge topic, but we did want to make sure that we do talk about marketing on this, specifically around, what you can do when it's new offerings that you're focusing on, or even if it is that you're earlier stage and you're trying to figure out how to get things moving. It is a huge subject. One of the biggest things that we see is that marketing is a topic which kind of sounds pretty like marketing, right? We're like marketing, yuck, it's even a terrible name. We think marketing, it sounds kind of sleazy, it sounds kind of salesy. It's something really interesting that goes through everyone's heads. It's like, marketing, this thing that kind of gets in the way. We've really got to shift that thinking to, hey, this is sharing. This is sharing what we do, right? This is getting your amazing, beautiful, incredible creative work out there to the world and out there to the right people. So there's just something that we need to think about when we talk about marketing. I think we need to rebrand the word to sharing. It really should be. This is really, really important. Now, I will say that my Kiwi accent confuses people when I say sharing sometimes. So if those of you think that I'm talking about sharing a sheep, no, we're talking about actually sharing what we're doing, right? I've had some really funny conversations about that. So there we go. Let's talk about marketing. So like the best place to market is actually doing the things that have worked for you so far, right? Which kind of seems obvious. It is not obvious. Most people forget about this fact, right? So if you're already in business and you are already offering things and you're expanding into a new type of offering, obviously when it comes to marketing that offering, look at what's worked with the other things that you do, right? Kind of obvious, easy to forget, right? So if you have found that in your business, outreach is really effective, right? You've gained clients through outreach. That's something that you can definitely focus on with the new offering, right? Because you've already proven it works for you. If it's leaning into, hey, I find networking and connecting with new people works really well for me. Great. Lean into that as the first spot. Is it social media? Great. Let's make sure you're focusing on social media. So, that is something that we just see again and again, is that people aren't really analyzing enough what's worked so far. Obviously, it's a bit hard if you're new to business, you're early stage. Sometimes you've got some ideas of what kind of has worked or what has worked once or twice. But this is a really important thing to understand, is like, if you've had one client come to you through Instagram, you can get more clients through Instagram if you focus on Instagram, right? Kind of obvious, but once again, easy to overlook. The second thing that we really talk about is basically this idea of making sure that you're leveraging your own network. your own network of people. And this could be past clients you've worked with. It could be people that have shown interest in your work. It could also just be friends, connections, family, right? Your own network. We think about that. Some people in marketing call it like the warm market, right? These are people that already know, like, and trust you. This is a really important thing when it comes to actually working with people. They have to know, like, and trust you. So you already have a network. Those of you that are like, well, I'm kind of early stage in my business, I don't have past clients, that's totally fine. You still have a network of previous people that you've had as colleagues, or previous people that you know from your life, and you've got a family and friends and all those people there. What we need to do is we need to make it very clear to your network that you are offering these new things. You are focused on these things here. So that's really, really important. And particularly when it gets into offering new things, if you're already in business, sometimes there's actually opportunities through existing clients. They're just not aware that you offer the thing that you offer. So sometimes you've got to tell them, like, literally message them and be like, hey, just wanted to let you know, we've got this new area here. If this is something you're ever interested in, or of other people that might be, send them my way, right? Because they also have their own network. And they might be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, we don't need book covers in our business. However, like, my friend so-and-so actually is looking for that right now, because they already know, like, and trust you. So they're more likely to refer you. So this is really important when it comes to marketing. Actually focus on these things, what's already working, and then focus on your own network, because that's actually going to be the easiest place to find new clients. They're going to be a lot easier to talk to. They're already going to have some trust in you as well. Now, obviously, beyond that, there's lots of things that you can do to market your business. It's kind of overwhelming how many things you can do in marketing. I know it can feel like, oh, there's nothing else I can do. There's always more that you can do. What we do see, though, is we see some things working really well for visual creatives in particular, right? This is really, really important, because obviously there's a lot you can do, but what are the things that make the most sense? Most people we work with don't actually want to spend lots of time and energy on marketing. They want to spend the time and energy on the creative side of the business. So therefore, if we can make that marketing strategy really focused, that's really going to help. There is no one perfect marketing strategy. This is really, really important. Even people we work with, they're actually leaning into slightly different things. They find different things resonate with them. They find different things work for them as well. So the types of things that we tend to see working pretty well, Instagram, still working, right? People are still getting clients through Instagram. There's a lot of opportunities there for sure, right? Absolutely. Yes, the algorithm drives everyone crazy, absolutely. But it's still an area that can for sure work. Outreach is another one, right? So email outreach, not the most exciting sounding thing. Sometimes we think about, oh, you mean like those spam emails I get in my email account occasionally? It's like, oh, yeah, okay, it's going to be a bit different from that. It's going to be more targeted, more personalized. But email outreach, still alive, still works. Partnerships can be a really interesting area, and it's often building connections with other people. It could be building partnerships with other creatives or other organizations, right? So there's lots of different things that you can do that. We've seen partnerships with like muralists who partner up with a real estate agent, right? Because they have all these connections and they're involved in a lot of different projects. Okay, well, a nice partnership can be a win-win situation there. The other thing that we do tend to see is networking, and networking can be online or offline. That's totally fine. And on that note, let's make sure everyone here gets networked up as well. So I'd love everyone to drop in their Instagram link in the chat, right? Grab your URL. Jillian's going to do it as well, and Celeste from our team will pop in ours. Follow us. We'd love to get connected with you. But if everyone can go get your URL, not your @ tag, because we want it to be clickable. So go to literally open up your browser, go to that, grab it and drop it in here. Amazing, Brony, you've already got it there. Pop it in here, because this is also part of networking. You're all actually networking today as well, right? You're going to get to know some other people, get clicking, get following some other people as well, and get connecting up. This is part of that. We've seen that it's not just about networking with the potential perfect ideal client. It's also about networking with other people, and that includes other creatives, right? We see this happening all the time, where other creatives, people in your network who maybe even do sort of similar types of stuff, can be sources of referrals, or they might be like, I'm overflowed with work, and they'll pass it on, or they'll recommend you. There's always interesting things, happening in that networking space. So, it's something that in terms of the marketing side, networking is definitely one that can work. Now, it sounds pretty scary. I think kind of like the word marketing, when we say the word networking, we're like, oh, sounds like you walk into like a room with like people in like really formal outfits, and you have to go and shake everyone's hand and do your business pitch. It's like most networking is not like that. I was talking with one of our clients the other day, and we were laughing about how like networking for her looks like chatting to people in like the supermarket queue, and like she Found a client recently who that she had like purchased some food from at a stall. Like it was this really, really funny story. But like that is networking as well, is connecting with the people in your world. I'm not saying you're out there pitching to people in the supermarket queue. No, this is just more chatting and connecting with people in lots of different unique ways. And some of those people may know someone. Right. This is a really important part of it as well. And for most clients we work with, like networking is pretty scary. And part of it is, yes, getting clarity around what you are offering and what you're doing in your business as well. That's part of that, so that you can actually share what you're up to as well. So, lots of good stuff on that. Obviously, it's a big subject. The other thing that we do obviously recommend you think about are how can you get repeat clients and how can you get those referrals? And that ultimately comes down to relationship building, right? So how can you build a long-term relationship with an existing client, someone that you've already worked with? Well, it's going to be more than just work with them when they want work. It's going to be actually follow them up via email, reconnect with them. Are they on your email newsletter? Are they following you on your Instagram? Like, what are ways that you can maintain that relationship? Email them 6 months later, being like, hey, I hope you're doing really well. Just wanted to let you know I've got some availability in the next few months. Or here's what I'm up to. I'm actually offering this new thing now. Just wanted to let you know. Right, that's part of it. That relationship building is what will get you the referrals and the repeat work as well. So when it comes to marketing, that is an absolutely essential place as well. We can do lots of interesting things around marketing, but we've got to do those basics first as well. Absolutely essential. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts, Jillian, around the marketing side of new offerings in your business as well.
Yeah, I feel like I just got a refresher on all the things I should be doing. But yeah, for me, so Instagram is my main marketing strategy for my business. It's not really even a strategy, it's just what I've been doing for so long that it's grown. But I do think that like the most important thing about marketing, at least for me, and especially if you're trying to pivot to a new offering, is that you need to show people what you do and how you can apply it to their business. There was like a while there where I was really only getting interest in for murals, and like I was realizing it was because like that was kind of all I was showing on Instagram. So people really thought that I was just like a muralist, but I didn't want to just be a muralist. So I had to start to figure out how to transition my Instagram more into like, I also make greeting cards. I did some book cover mock-ups and that kind of thing that like showed people that I actually do other sort of art, not just murals. Because I don't want to be known as just a muralist. I wanted to just be like an all-around illustrator. So yeah, putting out there into the world the work that you want to be doing is the key to marketing.
I love that. And I think, it's so powerful because I love what you said there. It's like, well, I wasn't sharing those things. So people just thought I was just a muralist, right? It's like you need to show people these things as well. And that's just so essential. I love that there. Well, something that we often get this question from people around like, when am I ready? Right. So we're going to talk about this idea of like, when are you ready? And this can be kind of used in multiple different ways for this context, but we're really using it in the context of when are you ready to offer something new? And it could be that you're early stage or actually just figuring out your first offering and figuring out how to get the first clients and get started. Or you might be like Jillian and you're like, hey, I want to do this new area. I want to get into, book covers, for example. When am I ready? Well, most people pretty much feel like they're never ready. That's a really important thing to recognize here. It's like, oh, I will do this one day when I feel ready. Well, the way to get ready and get moving is actually to do the thing. Right. So I saw this t-shirt, you've got ready, aim, fire is obviously, something if you're going to gun practice or something. You basically this t-shirt had it kind of in reverse. So it was like fire, aim, ready. And like I really laughed at that because it was basically talking about this idea of like when you want to like offer something new or do something new, and even in your life, it's actually often what is the first thing to do? Well, actually to just go for it. And you're going to learn along the way. You're going to get ready. You're going to aim. You're going to get more used to it along the way as well. So obviously there's some realities can kick in around this as well. But something that we see is that most people kind of start a new offering or start their business later than they need to, right? Because they want to perfect things first. They want to like hide in their house, perfect everything, and then release it to the world. Right. And it kind of makes sense. It's like, this is our creative work. These are amazing things that we're offering from the heart here. The reality is we also needed to face the world as it's developed. right? So we actually need to be working with and talking with real clients. The best way to become a really amazing person at anything, including, say, creative practice, is actually to work with people who need the thing, right? This is really, really essential. So, one of the things that we see is that most people, they feel like they're not ready, sometimes because they haven't been in business for very long. So they're like, oh, well, I'm not really ready because I haven't been doing this thing very long. Or like Jillian was saying, they have been in business for a while, but they feel like maybe they're not quite ready to offer that thing yet. And one of the reasons for that is they just don't feel like they have the experience to offer the thing. Now, it's kind of hard because, like, how do you get the experience? You offer the thing, right? Like, it's kind of all backwards. So, one of the things that you can do, and Jillian talked about this as well, is like actually be sharing examples of what this could look like, right? Examples of your work. If you have work you can show of, like, here's what I've done, great. But if you don't, well, it could be mock-ups, right? So you could be actually mocking up, right? Book covers, here's examples of book covers. Here's how my designs work on book covers. They can be mock designs. They could also be personal projects, right? So some people would use, passion projects, personal projects to show the utilization of their work, right? So you don't actually have to have a real client example to get a real client, right? Because you've got to start somewhere. Actually, you can have mock-ups, you can have personal projects, you can have examples. And that there showing that as examples will help you get those first clients. Right. So it's kind of that chicken and egg thing here, but really important that a lot of people, what they do is they're like, oh, I'm going to wait till I'm ready and I've got more experience. How are you going to get more experience? You're going to work with clients. Right? That is the best way to get that real experience as well. And I think part of it in the end is like, can you do the thing? And can you do it ethically, right? I'm not saying like go offer people a thing that you just can't do, right? I'm saying that like, no, like you probably can already do it, even though you don't have a lot of experience. If you're like, hey, I want to do book covers, but I don't really have any experience. Well, you've got to start somewhere, and you probably can figure out the creative side because you're a creative person, even though you may not have lots of the experience doing it. Right. So when it comes, I think about like the ethics side of this is like, no, you're offering something, someone saying, can you do the thing? That's what they want, is like, can you achieve the outcome? They're not asking like how many times, what sometimes they are, but they're often not asking how many times have you done this before? They're asking, can you do the thing? And I'm like, ethically, I'm like, if you can do the thing, if you can create the outcome, good on you. You don't need to have all that experience of many, many years behind you to offer the thing. So it's kind of one of these things that often is a bit backwards, but often we see that for most people, they're ready a lot earlier than they think. And what they need to do is actually start trying to deliver something to someone, start trying to actually create some value, working with real clients to achieve that great outcome. And you're going to get more experience along the way. Jillian, I'd love to hear your thoughts around this one as well.
Yeah, I feel like you covered it, but I will say that like yes, you never will feel ready. Like one thing that I always come back to, and I have lettered it and like illustrated it on my Instagram many times, is start before you're ready and grow as you go, because once you get your first project, you'll have grown from there. And like just say yes basically, and like you'll figure it out along the way. But it is very true, don't put things in your portfolio that like you won't actually be able to uh, do. But a lot of us, I still have mock-ups in my portfolio, and I know a lot of artists still do. Like even if I have plenty of like murals that I can put up on my portfolio, sometimes I like a mock-up better. So yeah, like don't be afraid of doing that either. But yeah, start before you're ready.
I love it. It's definitely a great one to create the lettering around as well. I love those phrases. Very, very cool. All right. So we are going to be taking everyone through one more thing. We've got one topic I wanted to really share about. This is also a good time for anyone that has questions, pop them in the chat because we're going to address them and we'll address what we can. As I said, we've had a couple pre-submitted. So just pop questions straight into the chat and we'll address what we can with the time that we have. Okay. We wanted to also talk about pricing. Pricing, what to charge, how to charge. Also a big, massive topic, right? I've done webinars on just pricing before, right? Pricing is a huge section, and pricing is something that pretty much everyone that we talk to and work with really struggles with, right? And even the people that are like, no, I don't struggle with that. We then look at what they're doing and we're like, oh yeah, but you're getting things wrong, because sometimes it's easy to not realize what is missing from the pricing side. There's a lot of pricing psychology. One of the things that people struggle with is when they are early stage in something. Now, that could be that they're just early stage in their business and they're offering new things and they're trying to price them, or they could be further along like Jillian, who are like, great, I want to offer something new. And how do I price that thing? So one of the biggest things that we see, one of the biggest mistakes that most creatives make is that they just underprice their work, right? This is a very common issue, right? And I've had many conversations with people who have said, oh yeah, I'm charging this. And I'm like, okay, it's not that we need to increase that rate by like 10% or 50%. It's like, no, we need to multiply this by like 10, right? And I'm not exaggerating. This is really, really important. We need to actually be creating things and getting paid very well for them, right? That is very, very powerful. Now, when we talk about value and getting paid for what you are worth, well, one of the things that people often need to work on is understanding what they are worth, right? And that's self-worth stuff. So often there's actually some work that needs to be done personally here and build your confidence. Because you might be like, oh, great, I feel like I'm being paid what I'm worth and I'm worth $200 for this project, right? And that's what you might feel. So you might say, well, I'm getting paid what I think I'm worth. Well, we need to actually increase what you are worth, even inside your own head, because you are worth significantly more. Right? Obviously, it depends on the project and what we're charging those things there. But what I'm really saying is that part of increasing pricing and getting the numbers right here is also going to be actually working on your own self-worth, building up that confidence. This is a really, really essential thing. And it's a whole journey in itself. I think, it's easy to think, oh, I just need to kind of know what to do and how to do it and know the strategies. There's a lot more to growing your own business than that. There's a lot of confidence building. There's a lot of mindset work that needs to be done. There's a lot of balance even around things like wellness, right? We do not want you to burn out, get exhausted. I'm not into the whole hustle culture thing because I just don't think it works and it just exhausts people. So therefore, what we need to do is actually focus on developing your own confidence and growing that. And this is actually the same for people who are early stage in business, same for people who have been doing this for years. There's a lot of opportunity there. So really, really important. The other thing I will say around pricing is, you've got to be pricing based on value and based on what people are willing to pay. Okay, this is really, really important. A lot of people, what they think about is, yes, their own worth and their own value, which I said is important, right? We've got to increase that. But also, if you can charge more than you think you are worth, go for it. Good on you. That is awesome. That's actually now your new worth. Really, really important as well. So part of it is more understanding that pricing is based on the value that this represents for the ideal client. Now, one of the things there is that sometimes you need to shift who your clients are. Right, that can be part of this journey. Is going, hey, you might be like, yeah, but Logan, everyone I talk to is like, oh, that's really expensive. And I'm like, I feel like I'm way undercharging. Well, it might be that the people you're speaking to are just not the right ideal clients. And part of the journey might be figuring out who is actually willing to pay those higher prices as well. The other thing that we often notice is that the reason that people will charge a really low rate is because they're like, well, I'm new in business, I'm new in this offering. Right, I haven't really done many book covers before, so I'm just gonna, put a really low rate because I don't really know what I'm doing. Don't tell anyone. It's like, well, when it comes to the craft, you actually probably do know a lot more about what you're doing and how to do it. Yes, you might be new in terms of that offering or even new in business, but that's a different thing from the craft and your creative skill set. Right, so we need to base the pricing on your creative skill set and the value of that thing, not the fact that maybe you've only been in business for 3 months. That's actually okay. You can still charge really good rates for that. So, at the same time, I get it. People do often, undercharge these things. And part of it is building up these things over time as well. This is a whole big topic as we know, but just wanted to share, a few of those key things. And just for everyone here to be very aware that undercharging is a very common thing. And we need to work on things like the confidence, the target market, and also how we display that value and how we help those clients see the value in the thing as well. I know it's a big topic here, Jillian, but we'd love to hear your thoughts around that as well.
Yeah, huge topic and something that I think all of us still struggle with. I definitely do. But yeah, I would say that especially like if you're offering something new, um, charge what you charge what you think it's going to be, but then like yeah, maybe double it. And also the beauty of like this creative work is that the next project that you get, you can charge more and like you'll just keep learning as you go. So yeah, even if you think you undercharged that first project, which we all have done and we've all been there, the next one you'll charge more and you're just going to keep learning. It's great.
I love it. And, this is part of that experimentation phase. We talked about, trial and error. Experimentation is going to be part of that, and patience. Things take time as well. And part of that is, yes, over time, you just want to increase that pricing of what you do, right? This is really, really important. And, we want everyone here to focus on creating value in the work that you do, not focus on just selling something for cheap. Right? We don't want to be known as, oh yeah, they're really, really cheap. Like, that's the worst thing to be known as a creative. It's like, oh yeah, they're definitely not cheap. You pay what they're worth, and they're worth quite a bit, but wow, their work is incredible. Right? That's the sort of narrative that you really want. Really, really essential. We're going to jump into some questions. As I said, we've had some pre-submitted. People that are here live, if you do have a question you want to pop into the chat, please just pop that in now and we'll address that and go through that as well. As I did mention early on, we do also have the survey. We're going to give away 3 freebie calls with me, 3 30-minute calls with me, and a bunch of extra calls with Paul from our team. I'll pop that link in the chat again just before we jump into the questions. So the first question I'm going to start off here is really diving into something that we got sent in, which was basically like, hey, what is the most effective marketing strategy? Right, we've obviously talked about a little bit of marketing here, and unfortunately, I'm not going to give a straight answer here because there is not one. I think one of the most frustrating things about marketing sometimes is the answer is like, it depends, and that's the answer here, is it depends. But we're going to dig into that a little bit more. So in terms of the most effective marketing strategy, I've already mentioned a bunch of them on this call. It does tend to be a mix of different things that work for different people. Right, so for some people we work with, we find, like with Jillian, like Instagram works incredibly well. Right, Jillian's managed to build a really amazing following. That's fantastic. That's a very natural fit for focus around marketing. Whether Jillian was focusing on it or not, that's something to keep focusing on and to really lean into, and figure out what are other ways it can be utilized and what are the new features that are being released, of course. But also, we work with lots of people. Most of our clients actually do not have big followings on Instagram. They have very small followings. Now, some of them still actually use Instagram as their core marketing approach, but for others, it might be outreach. Right, so it could be really leaning into outreach. We've got people that do incredibly well off networking. Right, when I say networking, it doesn't need to mean being in that scary big room full of people. It can just be connecting with people in really authentic ways as well. So that's another area. We've seen people build businesses and be really successful through those partnerships I mentioned. Right, sometimes it's just through the people that they know and relationships and connections too. So everyone's different, and I think a few key things on this is, what is the most effective marketing strategy? Well, it's not a straight answer. You're going to have to do some figuring out, some experimentations and trial and error yourself. It's not like we can just give you that answer straight away. Part of it is going to be some testing. And I think the reason it's different, it's sort of several things. One of them is because it's about your personality. What are the things that make sense for you and your personality? Often part of it is you need to get outside of the comfort zone. I don't think anyone's got just a personality equipped to do cold outreach, right? It's not like, oh yeah, most people are not like, I love that thing. It's like, no, like actually there's some fears to get through. There's some strategies to work out, figure out as well. But often personality is related to that. At the same time, it's also going to be related to what you are offering, the type of business you have. You may find, like we've found some things with people with similar personalities, just some sorts of marketing just are different for them. And it's because of the slightly different target markets or slightly different offerings that they have, right? So often that's part of it as well, is what is the sort of marketing that you can do and learn about, and maybe you're excited about as well, but also what is the marketing that resonates with your ideal audience as well. Right, that's something to be really mindful of as well. Okay, so this is a question. Do you want to tackle this one, Jillian, in terms of resources? So do you have any tips for favorite resources for starting out an editorial? Also, we'd love some input from yours if you have time. Do you have some ideas around that one there, Jillian, we could share?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so for editorial, I would say you're looking for art directors of magazines or digital publications. One thing that I do, well, first of all of my editorial illustration work has come from outreach. So I've reached out to these art directors. And the main way that I find them is I follow a ton of editorial illustrators on Instagram, and they tend to be really good about tagging their art director that they've worked with for that project. So once I see that, I add that art director to my list of outreach, and I will email them pretty much straight away saying something like, hey, I saw you worked with this artist. I loved it. I would love to work with you. So that's a great way, like a little connection there is a great way to get an art director to stop in their busy day and to look at your email. I do find that like editorial and like publishing art directors tend to be like really busy people and they probably won't have a lot of time for your email. So keep it short. You can even attach like a little one sheet with some samples of your work. That tends to be good for art directors in that world as well. Um, yeah, hopefully that's helpful. If you have any other like specific questions, let me know. In terms of murals, I would look for like public art calls are great to get a start. That's how I got my start in murals. There was just like a public art call for in a town nearby that wanted murals painted for like concrete barriers. So once I did that, I posted that on Instagram and it sort of started flowing from there. So yeah, that's a good way to sort of get into it, as well as mock-ups and then just like reaching out to businesses, like start locally, see if there's any restaurants or like retail stores that you think might be a good fit, or even paint your own wall if that's an option for you. That's a great way to get some content and post that. And yeah, and then hopefully it will snowball from there.
Amazing. I love that. Awesome, awesome answers and super helpful for everyone here, I think. Well, what we're going to do next is, Karin, we're going to jump into your question. How do I know who my target market slash audience is? Oh, I love this one. I think this is so, so important. And, it's something that kind of like the marketing answer is, it's not always straightforward. It's not always like, oh, it's going to be this here. That's the answer. Part of it is that there's going to be some experimentation and testing. A big thing that you can do is really see what others are doing. Get inspired by what other creatives that are doing similar work to you, what are their types of things that they do? Because you kind of need like a pool of ideas, right? You need like what's even possible here, and actually being able to go, what are other people doing in terms of who they are working with? What types of clients are they sharing? Like, are they sharing examples of the work they've done in their Instagram? Okay, who were those clients? And put that on the list. And would I work with clients like that? How would I feel about working with that sort of client? It also shows you that those sorts of people are paying for this sorts of work, right? There is this target market that will pay for these things, right? So that's a really important piece of it as well, because there needs to be a match up with, hey, yes, people might need the thing, but they may not pay for the thing. We need to find people who want the thing and have the budget, are willing to spend their money on it as well. In terms of ways that you can also think about this, is also going through creating that list, as I said, and getting inspired, and go through it and like circle the ones that you are excited about working with, but also remember to circle the ones that you're like, oh, maybe I would work with. Right. I think often we're looking for that perfect answer of like, that group of people there, like, I would to work with restaurants. We want that feeling inside us, but that feeling's not necessarily going to be there because we've never done it before. If you like haven't worked with the restaurants, I don't know what that's going to be like. But if you're like, oh, that could be interesting, right? Circle that as well. In the end, this is going to come down to trial and error and experimentation. How are you going to know if, let's say, restaurant owners are going to love your sort of work and whether you're going to enjoy working with them? Well, the only way to literally know is to go and do a project with someone, right? And actually, that could be a nightmare. It could be great. You might need to work with several people. So this is going to be part of it in terms of that target market side. It's actually, yes, do that work, the brainstorming, try and figure out what the options could be, and actually go, hey, okay, I'm going to focus on these 1, 2, or 3 groups of people. I'm going to market towards them, see if it resonates with them, see if I resonate with them as well. It works both ways. See if we can get some work in some projects and learn along the way. Now, you may find in the process of doing that you do not like working with this group of people, restaurant owners. And you might be like, oh, what a waste of time. I wish I'd got the perfect answer straight up. Well, no, it's not a waste of time because you have learned so much along the way. You're like, I have now learned how to work with different people. And you can use what you've learned to target and work with another group of people. So this is an important part of it. Sometimes you just got to put that stick in the ground and go, all right, these are my target markets I'm going to work with, and I'm going to learn along the way, and maybe I will pivot as we go as well. So this is an absolutely essential part of it. The experimentation. I think sometimes we just want those answers, right? It kind of makes sense. It's like, what's the answer here? And what should I exactly do? Well, the reality is that there's going to be some testing, some experimentation, some failures as well. And that's actually part of learning, part of the journey, and part of being creative is figuring out these different things. I think a lot about being creative in the business and how the business runs and what you do in the business. That's a creative process as well. Right, we've got another question we did get sent in. Just grabbing that now for you, Jillian. So, how do you balance work and life as a freelancer? Oh, I love this subject. Yeah, we'd love to hear any thoughts around this one.
Yeah, I think that's a really hard one and something that everyone definitely struggles with. For me, I would say that like time blocking and like scheduling things has been really important. And it's something that I've in like the last year and like within coaching, I've really learned to like make a routine and try to like stick to it. Not like exactly because we're allowed to like mess with our schedules and all that kind of thing because we're working from for ourselves. But like time blocking and making sure that in that time block you set like specific times that you are doing things for yourself, like taking a walk or meeting a friend or something, and like those are non-negotiables in your schedule, so you can like schedule the rest of your work day around those type of things. That's been like really essential for me. Just making that routine and sticking to it, and making certain self-care things non-negotiables in my schedule,
I
which yeah.
I I love it. It's such a
Yeah.
big subject, right, Jillian? Like, I think it's something Jillian knows this from the work that we've done is like, it's the hustle culture is something that is so prevalent in this world of like you just got to go 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 and get the things done and work all the hours, like build that successful business. That's what it takes. And I'm like, it is not true. It is not true. We need to get that really really clear. The journey for some people to grow their business is going to look like balancing self care and their business. It's going to look like creating structure, like Jillian said. It's going to look like creating processes. It's also going to look like breaking the rules, right? Because being a business owner, being a creative, these we're rule breakers, right? That's part of it as well. So yes, you might create your fixed perfect schedule and like this is what works for me. I want to work these hours, great. And then in a month's time, you might break it and go to movies on a Wednesday. Amazing. Do that in the middle of the day. That's awesome. You get to be your own business owner. And maybe at the movies, you're going to be inspired and it's going to even help your business. Right. So I think, one of the big things here in terms of that balance, we need to understand that balancing work and life is not necessarily about these being completely separate. Right. So you've got, your life and then you've got your work. It's like, well, there's always going to be a connection between these. And yes, we need to create good boundaries and we need to have that self care. Sometimes growing your business and putting energy into your business is going to look like you going and getting a massage or going for a hike or going for a walk, right? That's what growing your business could look like in the next 24 hours because actually you are your business. Working on you is working on your business. So that self-care is incredibly important. And Bruno's mentioned it as well there. Self-care is so, so important. It's actually a journey of personal and professional development to grow your own business, not just professional development, personal development as well. And that sometimes looks like working out strategies to get work done. Absolutely. And time blocking, like Jillian said, and also balancing it with what are the ways you need to time block self-care, right? Like self-care, just like work, should also be blocked, right? Blocking off time for that walk. I've been doing a lot of like steps challenges. It's been super fun recently. And really actually tracking that on my phone. It's super simple, but it's so easy to not. Right. We're all passionate about what we do. Fantastic. It's so easy to get very narrow-minded and then realize that we've let other pieces fall in our lives as well, whether that's relationships or self-care. So we've got to make sure we really balance those things because they're part of that business growth as well. You cannot build a business if you're exhausted, burned out, overwhelmed, your head has a million ideas, fantastic, but also we need to get them out. Maybe it's some free writing, maybe it's going for that walk as well. So I love it. Lots of good stuff here. We are going to start the wrap up for this webinar that we've run. It looks like everyone has had a blast and we've had some good questions too. I would love everyone that is here on live to just pop something in the chat around what they've learned or what has resonated today. If you just pop that in the chat just as we start to wrap up, what are the things that have resonated, something that you've learned, something you found interesting? Those of you that are watching the recording, I know we get a lot of people watching this recording, write it down on a piece of paper, right? Write it down on a piece of paper. If you wanted to DM myself or Jillian or send an email, great. Like send us that takeaway. We'd always love to hear as well. Takeaways are always important. So a few things popping into the chat now, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to go through a few of them. I like the outreach tips with Instagram and public art calls. Absolutely, Julie. Amazing. Kat, hey, Kat. Awesome. Just looking at things here. Start before you're ready. Put mock-ups out there to find your dream clients and projects. Nice. Do it before you are ready, Christy. I love that. So, so good. You just have to do it and start. Thanks. Love learning about starting before you're ready. Be specific with your goals and align work with what you truly want to do as well. So, so good. Love all the different things being shared in the chat. We're going to wrap things up there. It's been lovely doing another webinar with you. Well, this was a great one, wasn't it, Jillian?
Yeah, it was really good. I feel like we covered a lot. And like I feel like I've been refreshed on a lot of things that I maybe let slip a bit.
And that's part of it as well. Like, something that we talk about, and you know this too, Jillian, is like, this is an ongoing journey, an ongoing process. This is not stuff that you just like figure out, get it done, and then you're a pro for life. It's like, no, it does take ongoing personal growth, self-growth, ongoing education, and sometimes you've got to relearn stuff as you go as well. So that's all part of that journey. Lovely to have everyone here today. It's been an absolute blast. We're going to wrap things up there, and yeah, look forward to connecting with some of you potentially through the surveys as well. Awesome. Take care, everyone. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.